Hi, Grandma is here, and I am reading Adam to the Rescue from Adam of the Road, chapter 14. And we'll start off with a picture. And the picture shows Adam with two men who look like they are angry and in charge. Adam to the rescue. The sound of horses' hoofs behind him made him scramble off the road again to hide behind a big clump of ferns in the ditch. When he saw that it was only a couple of chapmen with their small trunks fastened behind their saddles, he jumped up and called out to them, "Hi, stop! There's been a robbery and I want to find the sheriff." At the word robbery, they turned pale, whipped up their horses, and galloped away, leaving Adam standing in the road looking indignantly after them. After that, Adam saw nobody till he left the wood behind. Then the first person he came on was a young shepherd who was eating his dinner under a hedge with his dog sitting up watchfully beside him and his flock gazing in the field before him. Because Adam spoke the northern dialect and the shepherd an extreme southern one, they had trouble at first in understanding each other. The shepherd thought that Adam wanted something to eat and offered him some bread and salt herring. We sometimes have that problem in our country too. I can remember my daughters having a very hard time understanding our neighbor who lived behind us, and she was from Alabama. We had Australian people move in across the street, and they said the Australians were easier to understand. Back to the story. Adam sat down cross-legged on the ground beside the strong young man with the kindly brown eyes, and had first a drink of clear cold water from the stone jug, then, a little hesitantly, some of the fish and bread. There seemed to be plenty of it, and he was very hungry. Between mouthfuls, gesticulating with his hands and going back to find other expressions for words the shepherd did not understand, he told his story. "I want to find the sheriff," he finished. "If we go back quickly enough, maybe we can catch the robber knight and rescue poor Don Williams so he can take his things to the fair after all." If you recall, Don William was the merchant that Adam was traveling with, and he was on his way to sell his goods at the fair. "I don't know where the sheriff is," answered the shepherd, "but Sir Adam Gurdon is bailiff. He'll be your man. He's hot against robbers. His father was an outlaw knight himself, almost 30 years ago it were, my granddam told me, and he frighted all the countryside from Farnham to Aylesford. Then the king, but he was the Lord Prince then, challenged him to a single combat, and they fought each other to a standstill. Prince Edward had a band of men with him, but he wouldn't let them help. So he and old Sir Adam shook hands, and Prince Edward became king and made old Sir Adam bailiff of Alton, and now his son, young Sir Adam, is bailiff after him and keeps the country clear of robbers. My name is Adam too." The shepherd made a joke. His eyes crinkled first, then his mouth twisted at the corners. "Look out for the apples," he said, and burst out laughing. Adam smiled politely, though the joke was no new one to him. "Adam, father of us all," the boys used to call him at St. Albans, and it was considered endlessly funny to offer him an apple. Now, why is that funny? Because they are all familiar with the Adam and Eve story in the Bible, of course. And so that was the first Adam, and that's who they are making fun of our Adam's name with. "It's the forest that gives him a chance to get away," said the shepherd, returning to the robbers. "You say he was a knight. Did you notice his bearings?" "He'd hid them all except his crest. That was a leopard." The shepherd shook his head. "Sir Adam will know. He's lord of the manor here. This is his domain and his flock, and I'm his shepherd. The village over yonder belongs to him. You see the manor house beyond the church? Go tell him what you saw, and don't let the steward put you off. It's harvest time, and he'll be in a tizzy over that." Adam thanked the shepherd for his dinner and got up to go. "Have you seen a minstrel pass this way?" he asked. "Oh, there's many a minstrel passes this way. I don't pay much heed to them. A lass in the village told me there was one by with a dog that could walk on his hind legs like a little man." "When was that?" Adam interrupted eagerly. "I don't remember, 2-3 days ago. Was it a red spaniel?" "Bless you, lad, I didn't see him. The lass said she wished she had one like him, but I gave her a kitten instead, pure white it were, with blue eyes and one black paw. She was pleased, liked it better than the dog, she said." "Just like a girl," thought Adam coldly. 2 to 3 days ago, Jenkin and Nick had passed this way, and some girl would rather have a kitten than Nick? The wind blew softly over the field and stirred the bracken around a rock. A bird perched on a sheep's back to look for ticks, and the sheep went on cropping the short grass without noticing it. Adam felt drowsy after his dinner, and this would have been a good place to lie down and sleep for a while, but he had tarried too long already. He set off at a brisk pace in the direction the shepherd showed to him. He passed the fields that were harvested and saw what must have been the whole village, men, women, and children out working in the sun. Some cut the grain with long scythes, some followed behind and bound it unto the sheaves, some piled the sheaves into great wagons. Franklins with rods in their hands walked among them, seeing that they were doing the job thoroughly and that all the grain went into the wagons. It was the Lord's fields they were harvesting now, putting in the days of boon work that each villain was required to give to his Lord. Across the road, Adam saw the fields that belonged to the villain waiting to be harvested. Now, this is a little bit different meaning of villain than we have today. Today, we think of villain as being the bad guys in a story, but in this case, they're just peasants. They're just farmers. They were laid out in strips with unplowed land between them to separate one man's holding from another. The breeze sweeping over the golden grain made paths and swirls in it. The village itself was deserted, except for a few mothers and babies and lame folk. The houses and the cottages, each in its garden, clustered together along both sides of the road, while the fields and the meadows and the pasture land and woodland spread out all around them as far as the eye could see. Beyond the church, as the shepherd said, was the Lord's gateway. And beyond that, sitting on a bit of a hill where it could overlook the village and the land that belonged to it, was the manor house. It was not easy for a boy with torn clothes and no cap to convince the Lord's servants in the height of the busy harvest season that he had important business with the Lord of the manor. Without his harp, Adam could not even claim a minstrel's right of entrance. Determinedly, he stood his ground with each one he met, with porter and with usher and with steward, and he found that he repeated the words robber knight often enough and clearly enough. He did eventually get passed on from one man to the next in order. It was mid-afternoon, and the church bells were ringing for evensong before he finally won through to Sir Adam, who was in his counting room conferring with his reeve Godfrey, too many pages, his reeve about the harvest. The reeve had a notched tally stick on which he was figuring his year's yield, and the knight had a parchment roll in which was written last year's score, and between the two they were growing each minute more mixed up and cross. "Well, what is it, boy?" snapped Sir Adam. He was a powerfully built young man, much less handsome than his own shepherd, but with the habit of authority. "Please, Sir Knight, are you the bailiff?" said Adam respectfully. "Yes," answered the knight, "I am. What then?" "Can you catch robbers and put them in dungeon?" "Yes." Sir Adam smiled as if he'd not quite meant to. "I can. Have you some robbers?" "Yes," said Adam, copying the knight's style, which he admired. "I have. At least we can get them if you can hurry. They're up the Farnham Road in the forest. They took Don William of Dover and his pack horses and his servants, but I got away. There were 5 of them, and the leader is a knight. He has painted over the charge on his shield, but his crest is a leopard." Sir Adam and his reeve exchanged looks. Both stiffened to attention. "What did I tell you?" said Sir Adam to the reeve. "That's derideware, without a doubt. I've suspected him this long time. You're sure of that crest, boy?" "A leopard rampant," repeated Adam firmly. Sir Adam began to snap out orders. "Call Walter. Tell him to bring my hauberk and sword." Now, when I come across words that I don't know, sometimes I look them up and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I can guess the meaning. And in this case, I guess that the hauberk, it has something to do with fighting, but I decided to look it up and found out that it's a shirt of mail. It's a piece of armor, but it's only like the shirt part. It's not the full legs and the full body. But it will protect him against swords and probably arrows. "Have Gerald get horses. You go yourself and collect me men with crossbows. We ride at once." The manor house, which had been sleepy in the afternoon sunshine, began to ring with the sound of running feet, of quick commands and clattering metal. Sir Adam, squire of the body, brought his coat of chainmail and helm, his shield and sword and spurs. His squire of the stable brought his horse with trappings on which were blazoned, as on his surcoat and shield, the Gurdon arms. No hiding of his bearings for Sir Adam. From all directions men came running, some with longbows, some with more powerful crossbows. In an amazingly short time, a band of men was ready to ride out. At its helm was Sir Adam, and beside him, oh wonder and joy, was Adam, son of Roger, on a brown palfrey to show him the way. Behind them were several squires and the reeve, and then the archers. As they rode through this village, the people, home from the fields, crowded to the roadside to watch them pass, and several of the young men ran for their bows and followed on foot. Adam rode along in a state of high glory, wishing with all his heart that Roger could see him now, that Hugh and Godfrey could see him, and Perkin, and Jill and John Ferryman. He watched for his friend the shepherd as they went by the pasture, and made up for all the others who were not there by standing up in his stirrups and waving violently to the shepherd. Into the forest they rode, and everyone whom they met stepped off the road into the ditch to let them pass. It took much less time to get back to the place where the robbers had jumped out of an ambush than it had taken Adam to go from there to the village, because they're on horses. "We're almost there," said Adam. "Look, that's the tree where I hid, over there. And now you can see where the road is all cut up with hoof prints, and that's where they went into the wood." Without pausing, Sir Adam turned into the path. "Fall back, boy," he ordered, "and ride in the midst of the men. You're too exposed here." Adam regretfully fell back. Still, he comforted himself. He was lucky to be here at all. He told the squires about Roger and Jenkin and Nick and how he lost his harp. "Oh, we'll get it back for you," said one, "and then you can show us what kind of minstrel you are." The path led deeper and deeper into the forest. Sometimes they had to bend over to keep from being scraped off their horses by boughs of the trees. They rode silently. Even Adam stopped chattering for a while and felt his heart beating faster. Any minute, he thought uncomfortably, an arrow might zing through the air before his nose, or nearer. They came to a park where the trees were sparser and the ground beneath them was cleared of undergrowth. A whole herd of fallow deer moved calmly here, scarcely even trembling to look up when the silent band of men rode past. Then the path forked, and Sir Adam took the left-hand branch. The squires nodded to one another. "He knows," said one. "He's been looking for a chance to catch Derideware." Before long, they came to Rideware Hall, a stout stone house protected by a wall and a moat. Adam hardly knew what he expected when he saw the moat. A siege, possibly, certainly a fight, perhaps even hot lead pouring down from the top of the wall. What happened was that they found an ordinary plank bridge, not a drawbridge at all, across a stagnant and scummy bit of water, shallow enough to wade. Sir Adam rode over and pounded on the door in the wall with his mailed fist. After some delay, it was opened by an agitated-looking porter. "Sir Robert is not at home," he declared over and over, but the bailiff only pushed him aside, and the others crowded after him. When Squire Walter leaned forward and said something in a low voice, Sir Adam, turning in his saddle, commanded, "Surround the house. There may be a postern door." Well, I've seen the word postern before, and so I did finally decide to look that one up. A lot of times I just read past the words I don't understand because they're not that important to the story. So it means rear, the rear door. Or it could be a side door, but it's not the main entrance. Adam heard some of the men behind him obediently wheel their horses, but his eyes and ears were all for what was going on in front of him. They were in a muddy courtyard now, where various wooden sheds were built against the thick outside wall. Some chickens fled, squawking with spread wings before them, and from a pen in one corner came the excited barking of several dogs. A monkey, tied to a post, scrambled up it and chattered shrilly from the top. The hall itself was a stone building jutting out from the wall opposite the entrance, with narrow pointed windows and a rather impressive flight of stone steps leading to a stout wooden door banded with iron hinges, ending in a fleur-de-lis sign. Now remember, I said if a name begins with D-E, they were probably Normans, and the fleur-de-lis design certainly confirms that. That's just one of the signs of the French, the country France, and Normans are from France. The door now opened, and a pale, thin lady in a green gown with wide sleeves stood at the top of the steps. "Sir Robert is away," said she in a thin, reedy voice. "If he were here, he would resent this intrusion." Her words were disdainful, but she looked frightened and sad. Adam felt sorry for her, and so evidently did Sir Adam, for he answered her gently enough as he dismounted and strode up the steps. "I have reason to believe that he is here. I must ask you to stand aside and let me enter." His squires followed him with their hands on their swords, and after them, alternately craning his neck to look over shoulders and ducking his head to look under elbows, went Adam. Lady de Rideware gave way without further argument, and they all marched unchallenged into the house. It was dark inside, for the wooden shutters had been closed. The first thing was to get them open. In the light that came bit by bit, Adam saw a long room with rough stone walls. The hearth was in the center, heaped with cold ashes and half-burned logs. Down both sides ran rough board tables and benches, and at the sight of these, Adam drew in his breath. They were strewn with heaps of beautiful brocades and velvets and silks, and with little bags and boxes of rare spices. And that came from the merchant for sure. In that gray, chilly, musty hall, the brilliant scarlets and blues and golds of the merchant's wares made a rare show of color, and the rich fragrance of the spice rose above the dank smell of the dirty rushes on the floor. On the benches, bound and gagged, sat the merchant of Dover and his two servants, showing in their eyes and joyful squirmings their sudden relief from fright and anger. Confusion followed. Sir Adam ran up the stairs at one end of the hall to the solar above, looking for the missing knight. Others searched in the chamber below and in the buttery and the cellar. In the excitement of the search, they forgot to free the prisoners, who beat on the floor with their feet and uttered muffled squeals to call attention to themselves. Adam took his own knife out of his wallet and with some difficulty managed to hack away the bonds, first of the merchant and then of the two servants. He escaped through the postern, the rear door, when he heard you coming, cried Don William. Don't waste time looking for him here. And at the same moment, a shout from outside drew everyone to the windows. They've found his trail, shouted Sir Adam. Walter, you and Hubert stay here and see the merchant and his goods safely out on the road again. Keep Ralph and Harry with you in case of trouble. Simon, Gerald, the rest of you with me. Stamping and clanking, they were gone. The clatter of horses' hoofs in the courtyard was followed by shouts and the thudding of hoofs on the grass on the other side of the moat. Walter and Hubert, the squires and Ralph and Harry, the yeoman, watched from windows with undisguised disappointment the departure of the rest of the band without them. They didn't like being left behind. Oh, they'll get him this time, said Walter, turning away at last. Caught red-handed. He'd better run if he wants to keep his head on his shoulder. Lady de Rideware had vanished. Don Williams and his men were folding up the goods and repacking the saddlebags, groaning over the silks mussed and the spices spilt. It would be at best a lengthy process to get all these things back again into their proper bags, in the proper order, and Don Williams' nerves were in no condition to make short work of it. He fussed over the folding and refolding of each piece. He changed his mind 3 times about the particular box of spice and length of velvet that he would give to Sir Adam as a thank offering. The squires tried to hurry him up, but soon, seeing that they only made him more nervous and therefore slower than ever, they gave it up and amused themselves by practicing with Rolf's crossbow, using the shabby canopy over the knight's seat at the high table as a target. Adam prowled about looking for his harp, which he found at last among the rushes under a table. Except for a piece chipped off one corner, it was unharmed. He tuned it lovingly and plucked the strings. It's a lucky thing there's a moon tonight, said Squire Hubert, casting a resentful glance at the merchant who, standing in a long ray of late sunshine, still folded and unfolded and refolded links of material. Or we'd never get home, and I wonder if they've caught de Rideware yet. Oh, they'll come back this way when they do, surely, said Walter. Since we aren't with them, we may as well be here as anywhere. What songs do you know, boy? Adam perched on one end of the table, and swinging his legs in time to the music, he harped and sang. Trolley, lolly, lolly, lo, sing trolley, lolly, lo. My love is the green wood gone, and now after I go, sing trolley, lolly, lolly, lo. It was a catchy tune that Roger had taught him. They took it up, the 2 young squires and the yeoman. On the second round, Adam changed it. The robber's night to the greenwood gone, now after we will go. To their surprise, Don William joined in with sing trolley, lolly, lolly, lo. The packing was finished. Sing trolley, lolly, lolly, lo, squeaked Oswald, 3 bars behind everyone else. Well, that turned out a happy ending, but it's not really happy because Adam still hasn't found his dog or his father. And next chapter is chapter 15, and it's called Giles Fair. And as you can see, Adam is not looking happy. He looks rather defeated because look at all the people there. How is he ever going to find his father in that? Well, hopefully he'll find him soon. And until next time, bye-bye.